You may have seen the jokers before, but have you ever really seen the jokers? Have you really looked at them? Take a close look. See, there you go, like this, like this. Now I know you might think they look like rather ordinary jokers. Wrong. These are mind-reading jokers. These are mind-reading jokers, which makes sense. They spend a lot of time alone. They never get a chance to play in these usual card games, so they're going to read somebody's mind. In fact, this case can be Chris. Normally, I'd let them jokers go. To read someone's mind, I hold them up against the side of the person's temples. So it gets some laughs and reactions from people. Hold them up and say, they're going to read your mind. And sometimes people feel a bit of moisture on their ears. They think maybe the joker's gone to the washroom on them. Sometimes they have, sometimes they haven't. Just as a side note here. But for now, we'll get back to the jokers in a second. Okay? They're going to read Christopher's mind. Give the cards a bit of a shuffle. Chris, we're not even going to have the card. You're going to have you take a card out or anything. I'm just going to lean in here, do a riffle. You just say, Joker. Joker. There, I'm showing you a card. Boom. Keep it in mind, okay? Boom. Okay. So you said stop at a card, one of the cards in the pack. I'm going to give the cards a bit of a cut here. Here we go. And now watch. First joker. It's all going to happen down here. First joker, going to get a sense of your thoughts. Picking up the color, picking up the value, thinking one of these cards in the middle of the deck is yours. Now watch. Just a little suggestive rub, and you're going to see that joker melt down through the deck, looking for the one card you're thinking of. Take the second joker, put that on top. Just give the deck a little bit of a shake here. Shake. The second joker seems to have vanished, but it actually is going down through the cards to the two cards, the two jokers, going down, trying to read your mind. Ooh, they've narrowed it down to one and only one thought down here. I'm hoping, Chris, please, is that your card there? Okay, now wait a sec. That is the card you're thinking of. But let me ask you, that's the mind-reading joker's trick. Have you ever heard of the 3-card trick? Have you heard? Any guesses how many cards it uses? It, of course, is going to use 3 cards. Now notice, right now, it's going to be hard for me to figure out which of these 3 cards is yours, probably the middle one. But if I turn one of the jokers over, now it gets a little bit easier for sure to try to figure out. Turn the other joker, now I know exactly where your card is. But here's the cool part, watch. If I hold your card like this, just give it a little squeeze, it melts and becomes invisible. And when I say invisible, I mean if I take it and I slip it among the other cards in the pack facing the wrong way, snap my fingers, it becomes visible again. That joker can be examined. This joker can be examined. Your card, I really did turn it invisible, make it visible again, and now when we spread through, you'll find there is your card. Thanks to the mind-reading jokers. This is a sleight of hand monster. There are so many different kinds of things going on in this. There's also a couple of original moves here. This is a handling of the tent vanish. That's original to me. Very unusual tent vanish. Gives it a bit of an optical thing. There's also the revolution count. You might have thought I was just doing some sort of, I think like a Hammond count. Was it a Jordan? I never remembered that one. But there's also my revolution count is in here as well. So it's a real mess of a whole bunch of things. And hopefully when I performed it for you here, as when I try in the real world, hopefully you don't get a sense of all the, and there's a classic pass in there as well, but I'll show you a variation you can do for that. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. I've performed this for over 20 years. I find it's a wonderful combination of the audience interaction, the mind-reading jokers, just that premise alone, people find amusing, and you know, this whole thing of they can read your mind, and then they get to hold them up to the sides of their head, and on and on and on. So my favorite card tricks, my favorite tricks are in fact tricks where first something happens. There's a plus to that. I find if you just stand there stationary, catatonic, it's seldom that people really want to pay you. Rather than having a card selected and put back in, I'd rather someone just peek at it. So I riffle through. Someone sees a card, in this case, the Queen of Clubs. I keep a break when I close it up with my left pinky. Then I come over, and I'm going to spread out the cards saying so you feel like you could have stopped at any one. And the only reason I'm spreading out the cards is to shift the break from below the selection to above the selection. I want to get a break above the Queen. Now I square up the cards. Now, in performance for real people, I put the cards back here, and then I'll do a classic pass or something like that, or turnover pass. But if you want, let's say you're not great with your pass yet, you can just keep a break above the Queen and double undercut the selection to the top of the deck, okay? So what's happened so far? It's so important when learning this stuff to be able to distinguish the forest and the trees time and again. Shift your focus from the drill down moments, trying to understand the psychology and the technique of the moves, to what's happening for people. Well, what's happening is that someone's thinking of a card, you squared up the deck, and you maybe gave the deck a couple of cuts. That's all that's happened. Now, you started by saying the jokers are going to read their mind. Well, what do you mean by that? You say, look, I'm going to put that one on top. I'm going to rub it. Don't worry, nothing too weird. Okay, I don't make, sort of not a hobby of mine, rubbing jokers. But when I rub it, you're going to see the joker hopefully melt down through the cards. Okay, now that moment, do not rush it. I lean right in, I'll do it right over someone's, like right in front of someone's face, have them, if I'm standing and they're standing, I'll make sure they look right down at it. And this will get a gasp. They'll swear you palmed the card or you control it to the bottom, but the joker's nowhere to be found. Now what I've done is, of course, I used the Erdnase Houdini color change, which if you're familiar with my work, you know I love this move. So usually it's done as a color change, but to do it as a vanish is a bit unusual, but it works so well. So I'm going to come over, and as I come over and I put my hand down, I actually start by pushing that card forward about a third of its length. But you don't do it visually in front of them. You come over and you kind of cover it while you're putting your hand down like that. You cover the action. That's the first step. The second step is I'm going to pull my hand back to ostensibly show you the card. But as I pull the hand back, what I'm actually doing is getting the card ready, the card below it. So the exposed view is I slide back, and the heel of my right hand is going to contact the card, and this is the exposed view, sliding it back until it clears the edge. Then I'm going to move it forward, and to finish, the left finger is going to square everything up. All right? So slowly now, it's here, 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 and here. Performance speed, I say take a look, keep an eye on the joker. I'm just going to give it a rub, and it's going to melt down through. So I like this diagonal drag across here. Now what have I done? I've done a beautiful vanish of a joker on top of the deck, but I've also got the selected card on top of the joker. Then I add the next joker, and I make sure the two jokers are facing the same way for later on. I don't want one facing up and one facing down. Nobody would probably notice, but it's just one of these little things that certainly help me believe in what's happening. And I take this next joker and I say, let's see, and I put this on top. Now you could just cut the cards. And together they're going to find the joker, and then you go through and they found that, lo and behold, there's a card trap between them. And that works just fine, guys, okay? However, if you have a decent classic pass, a riffle pass, what you can do is take the joker here, give a little shake like this, and have it apparently, and notice I'm really I'm putting the deck way down, edge forward, because I don't want to flash my quick riffle force. Then I spread through until I find right here, they found a card. Now this is where lay people go, no, 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 no way. They start getting ahead of you of that's going to be their card. I put these cards down on a bar stool or on a table, maybe someone's hands, square them up and leave them there. It's important you leave them there and that they're square. Okay? All focus is here. I say watch, and I rather than just taking the card out and holding it up and showing it, I really want them to get this moment here. Take a real picture. And now if I turn this over and then return it back to the spot, now that picture's locked, okay? That's the thing. As soon as you reveal things, all you have is the memory. But in taking it out first, turning it over and putting it back in, now it's really firm. The effect is done. Now, they have no idea another phase is coming. And you don't want to say, well, next I'm going to. So it's very important when you're doing this to don't trigger or don't get ahead of yourself. Let that moment really register. Let people really get a strong sense that, in fact, that is the first trick register. So then I asked them, have you ever heard of the three-card trick? And they go, no. I said, do you have any idea how many cards it uses? Now, they chuckle or they get mad at me, whatever. And as I'm saying, well, no surprise it uses 3 cards. What do? I square this in. So you ever heard the 3-card trick? And they say, no. I said, well, no surprise it uses 3 playing cards, of course. Very casual. And by asking them a question, my favorite misdirections in all of magic are to ask people a question or make them laugh. When we ask people questions, it's amazing misdirection, and nobody ever notices that I have just the 2 jokers and I've stolen out their selection. Okay? And I used a very simple count. Stealing off a biddle steal off the bottom of the packet. I'm here. And I'm going to come over, and here's the exposed view. I'm going to take the joker, and I'm holding the cards, right hand from above. Taking off the joker, taking off the queen. As I come back over to take the last joker off, I'm going to steal the queen between my thumb and fingers here, below. So it's sort of like this. It gets stolen. Now you'll see, and this is one of these things, even if you did it perfectly, if you counted it like this, people are going to be suspicious. So but also, you don't want to go slowly and have a pause. You don't want 1, 2, 3. The key here, with so much of sleight of hand, is a flow. So don't set up a speed you can't handle. Just go 1, 2, 3. Very direct, okay? And you just ask them a question. And this is a moment, you know, say, hey, you ever heard the 3-card trick? This is supposed to be a caesura, a break between one trick and another now. You're moving on, and so they relax the first trick. They might turn to each other, sort of look each other in the eyes and have a sense of, boy, that was amazing. How did he know it was your card? And I'm just counting 1, 2, 3. I steal off the card and put it down, and maybe move the deck a little to the side or hand the deck to somebody to hold on to, which is great because then the magic happens at the end. It's like sponge balls. The card appears in their hands. I'm back up here. Now I'm going to count the 2 cards as 3. Okay, it's very simple count. False count. 1, I leave this below, take the 2nd card, and then the last card I've actually done twice. Okay, but boy, it looks like 3 cards. Now they just saw 3 cards in your hand, so all you're doing now is basically convincing. You're reassuring them. Say, now, right now, with all the cards face down, I don't know which one is yours. But if I turn over one of the jokers, of course, it gets a little easier. And if I turn over the other joker, now it's very easy to figure out which one, of course, is your card. Now this is visually very convincing. Now they're certain, not that they doubted, but now that, once again, you've really emphasized you got 3 cards, 2 face-up jokers and 1 face down. However, you've only got the 2 cards. And this is what I'm doing with my revolution count, okay? Because after you've done this 2 for 3 count a couple of times, or maybe even just once, you're going to turn over one of the jokers. And here's the exposed view. I'm going to take this one off, but as I count it off, I'm going to roll it with my fingers to this point. So when I come up again, it's going to get fed as a face down card as I take this one off and then this one off. Okay? So it looks like in slow motion, and this is again where you really want to angle the cards down. You're taking off a joker, doing that secret roll, coming over, and the 2 more. Because the idea is that you've got a face-up joker and 2 face-down cards, right? And I'm just doing the revolution count there. And like I said, it will take practice. The key is to make sure that once you're from this point that you've already started those right fingers, and so that by the time you're up here, and really tilt it. Okay, so they think 3 face-down cards. Now they think face-up joker and 2 face-down cards. Turn over the next joker, and you're in this position now where, very simple, you're doing the same count as before. A single, leave it, take the single, take the single. But now it's absolutely, they're convinced there's the selected card right in the middle. Now, regrip the cards in a biddle kind of grip. Take the thumb, slide off 1 joker, apparently leaving a joker and a face-down card, and prop it up. And you've got to make sure you don't want to flash the face of this as you come up. So you turn your body and you prop this up here. Now the traditional tent vanish happens on a face-down cards, okay, and looks like this. You prop up a card, and this is the original tent vanish, where you want to make it look like you take a card and it vanishes. And so maybe you might really take it once, put it back, or maybe you just like, and you come over and apparently take it, and all I'm doing is letting this fall down, okay? But nice little, sort of a little convinced, really looks like you take the card kind of thing. Now, I'd worked on this years ago, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool, and here I am in with doing my jokers here, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I did it where the card below was face up? So that would really add to the idea that this was in my hand advantage. So I do this, I'm going to come over, and here's the technique. The first finger is going to push up and undercover this hand, pull the joker back so you end up with the 2 face-up jokers. So it goes from the face-down joker to the 2 face-up jokers. But I do it under action of apparently taking their selection off and waving the jokers. This action covers that that little action in there. So I say now that I know which one's yours, but I'm going to actually turn it invisible. Okay, you got to crunch it small, invisible, or you're saying I'm just going to wave the other two jokers at it, and look, it's now invisible. And this is a gasp moment. I mean, and this is where I'll often hand out both jokers, and they've just seen their selected card vanish with my sleeves up. And then I finish by, maybe in this case, I'll say, look, I'll put it on top of the deck face up, give the cards a cut, or I'll simply say, look, I'll turn it over, turn it face up, stick it among the cards. And now, and if somebody was holding the deck, someone was already holding the deck after making it vanish, I say, look, I'm going to throw your cards through the air. It's going to melt through Sarah's knuckles, her bones, her flesh, her envious feelings. And then, take the deck back and spread through and really let that register. So much magic in this trick. It's just boom, boom, boom. One of the big questions I get asked a lot, and even some of you leave comments, is, hey, what are you doing exposing magic on YouTube? Because we all know the first rule of magic is a magician never reveals his or her secrets, right? I want you to imagine a world, and in that world, no magician ever reveals any secret. No exposure, nobody, the magician keeps the secret to themselves. In a single generation, the art of magic's gone. Nobody knows the secrets, it's gone. So like with so many beginner rules, this idea of a magician never reveals his secret is totally not accurate. Of course, some magicians need to reveal their secrets. So the question's not, it's not a magician should never reveal their secret. The question is, when do you reveal and how do you reveal? And what's the difference between education and exposure? What's the difference between exposing something that's somebody else's marketed trick and trying to inspire other people to find their own thing in this beautiful art form? So for me, one of the reasons why I share, I don't think of what I do as exposure. Because exposure, to me, I think of someone lifting up a skirt for a second. That's how he did it. It uses a wire. But if you're actually going to teach people, and hopefully inspire people about the art and the craft of magic, I see myself as a totally legitimate teacher who's been doing this for many years. And I'm thrilled to have so many people come to this channel who are interested in magic. And so here, I hope it doesn't come across as exposing. The other thing too, and I mentioned this, is that I know on YouTube there are a lot of young people who are, of course, less experienced and not as creative necessarily, and less experienced in the real world entertaining people, and they share what they can as sincerely as they can, and I respect that. However, years ago, 10, 12 years ago, when I started to see more and more of these videos come out on YouTube where people were just exposing, or they were teaching stuff poorly, or the teaching level was like this, you were just learning the basics, I thought the least I can do for the art of magic is to try to balance things. So I try to give real value, I try to make sure that I don't waste your time, I try to teach you and inspire you and give you insight into this stuff. And to me, none of that falls under the category of exposure.